Conor's response to that was, all I read was, look how big he has gotten. My man, these clowns are when I get back. And then Tony Ferguson pops in. He says, taking growth hormone will do that to somebody's build. So, I'm talking about this, the growth hormone will do this to someone's build. Just make them look fucking huge and hyperinflated and potentially even compromise your leg is what is being implied, maybe. We'll do that to somebody's build. You're mentally weak and your leg is compromised. You're fragile, frail, and breakable. That growth hormone gone make you break, kid. What's up guys, Derek, moreplay48s.com. Today we're going to be talking about Conor McGregor, the beef between him and Tony Ferguson, growth hormone abuse claims, and some other shenanigans. So Conor McGregor is, got under a lot of scrutiny lately for some of his outbursts. He's quite well known for his outbursts at this point. The guy cannot contain himself apparently. And most recently, some of his tweets have been talking shit about people in the UFC, trying to stir up a ruckus as always, trying to build hype, but as well talking about how jacked he's getting and how people are going to be fucked when he shows up to the UFC again to fight. So, imagine not wanting permanent brain damage. He just posts this random fucking Twitter guy. It's just funny. He goes out of his way even to fucking shit on guys with just random shit posters. Conor will just go out of his way to screenshot the guy's profile picture and post it to his entire 9 million follower fan base. The guy is, fuck man. Nobody like him, that's for sure. But anyways, caption is horse country. Looking like a fucking meat stick and a half, bro. Recent 200-pound Conor, I guess, says the anthropologist, cultural studies, MMA fan. So he's looking a bit bigger, a bit beefier, but as well, his face is a little bit more filled out as well. So obviously some of this is just, off season, lack of conditioning essentially, but it's brought about some back and forths on Twitter from, guys who want to either shut him up or fight him potentially. So the most notable one being between him and Tony Ferguson. So somebody posted this. This man is never fighting professionally, mixed martial arts. Look at how big he's gotten. Boxing, ? Maybe down the line, but he's not getting a cage that big. Absolutely not. And that was posted by Prince Laney responding to this, the picture we just went over with the gangster lean on the Bentley wearing the fucking tactical vest over the super tight beige long sleeve with the 3D delt separation, popping like a motherfucker. So Conor's response to that was, all I read was, look how big he has gotten. My man, these clowns are fucked when I get back. And then Tony Ferguson pops in. He says, taking growth hormone will do that to somebody's build. So, I'm talking about this, the growth hormone will do this to someone's build. Just make them look fucking huge and hyperinflated and potentially even compromise your leg is what is being implied, maybe. We'll do that to somebody's build. You're mentally weak and your leg is compromised. You're fragile, frail, and breakable. That growth hormone gone make you break, kid. So, is he saying that, he obviously is, making the claims about how he's bigger, but in addition to that, sort of implying that GH is making him a, fragile fighter and he's otherwise, on the downslope. Keep pumping your chest, you cheat. Implying that this guy is a prominent doper or, currently doping. Not really sure if he believes he's always been on the sauce or what, but, pretty bold accusations. Not the first time God punished you. You like picking on people and DJs? What the fuck, pussy? And then he posts this nice little gif of Cosby and some nuggets. You're old and breakable, my friend. You tripped over electric cord and got hurt. Cool emoji, a smiling face with sunglasses, face with tears of joy. How could I have missed that? Come on, Tony. Accusing a man who's never failed a test while remaining in the pool for years is not champ shit. You're better than this. Still want to see this war, though. That's adorable. Conor is definitely taking GH and testosterone. ... Haha, Tony, when the fuck was your last win? Against a guy who lost the PFL? Laugh my fucking ass off. Last Conor win is against past prime Cerrone, bro. What are you, I almost said what the fuck, and it's not even there. What are you talking about? Why do you write a full paragraph for all your tweets? How does Conor beat Tony? Can't knock him out, can't submit him, doesn't have the cardio to make it out of the 3rd round. Laugh my ass off, Conor will piece Tony up where he can't even think straight. Gull forget, Conor is the hardest hitter in the division, not Justin. Justin hots hard and crazy, but the pros said Conor's power is unmatched in that division. And then just a bunch of debating in the comment section about who would be better, who, you know, a lot of these guys literally have like fucking pictures of the guy that they're rooting for in the profile picture. So you can imagine, you know, they're going to be a little bit biased in this back and forth. But this led to Conor going on a bit of a tirade because the guy just can't help himself. This was some deleted tweets. Conor McGregor makes dark prediction for potential Tony Ferguson fight in deleted tweet. I'm going to end your life, he says. So, dark places with a slew of tweets on Friday. Tony called him out, which we just saw. Although it now seems like things may be shifting towards a potential bout with Nate Diaz, and then shifted things towards accusing the former 2-division champion of taking PEDs, along with digging at McGregor's alleged recent troubles stemming from Italian DJ and musician Francesco, oh my god, Facchinetti, probably wrong, accusing McGregor of punching him in the face. Where are you at, McNuggets? Time to turtle ninja, fuck, I have no idea what I'm reading. Up, motherfuckers, glad most of you got the memo. Turtle running fast. Wind blowing the leaf. CSO. American flag. Trophy. Mexican. Crew. Leaf flying again. On to one champ. I'm gonna row over to you and fuck you up. And then with this video, let's see.
Fucking turtle. Ninja turtle. So which one's your favorite? I like Michael.
Damn, sick edit, bro.
Where you at, McNuggets, you piece of shit? Khabib don't do it, I will.
Hopefully it doesn't get fucking copyrighted. Okay, so McGregor, all I read, okay, we just watched this one, but he says, in response to the Tony Ferguson growth hormone claims, pair of since deleted tweets, first of which targeted Ferguson's wife filing for something, which was dropped a month later, a temporary restraining order in March 2019. Oh my God, bless you, kid. Mental basket sad case. I'm going to share your scared wife's video that was sent to us of you screaming, crying as you smash your house up. What a sad bastard you are. No brains, empty head, losing streak, no management, wife sending us videos in fear, McGregor stated in the deleted tweet. The tirade continued with McGregor predicting that he would end Ferguson's life if they were to compete inside the octagon, along with stating that the only thing he has left to do in his career would be to do the unthinkable in a fight. The tweet was deleted but captured on the social media platform by another user, by Susie Cusi. When the only fight you've won lately is against an Italian DJ. Me and you are fighting one day, mate, and I'm gonna end your life in there full of it. Sauce, money, power. What? Sauce? That's like an interesting word to use, given what he was just claimed to be doing. Sauce, money, power. I already won all the belts and the money in the game. I just want to kill one of you's rats in there now. It's the only thing left for me to do. And watch me do it. Fuck, dude. McGregor did keep one tweet public in regards to Ferguson allegedly signed with a new management company in order to play professional baseball, amongst other accusations. Tony was duped into signing with another agency on the premise he would receive a pro baseball contract. Ha 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 ha. A pro fucking baseball contract. Crying, laughing face times two. Now he's in legal turmoil with this crowd. Ah ha ha ha. No shit. Jose Canseco, what did you fucking think would happen? Crying, laughing face, empty head. Both McGregor and Ferguson are in the midst of the longest losing streaks of their respective careers. McGregor is recovering from a broken tibia suffered in his recent TKO loss to Dustin Poirier at UFC 264. So again, did the growth hormone lead to the broken tibia? Following the deleted tweets, McGregor posted some more on Twitter and stated that until his pay-per-view numbers drop as the biggest star in the sport's history, he doesn't plan on changing anytime soon. I don't give a fuck. I just want your money. Sauce, money, power. If the numbers dip, I'll change. Until then, ha ha ha. Ha 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 ja ja. Good. Ferguson teased fight news would be coming soon, which is interesting since Diaz, who has split 2 fights with McGregor in 2016, seemed to target Ferguson for a future matchup. So obviously, if we want like a lot of fucking accusations being thrown back and forth, a lot of talk about the PED use, and one thing that is notable about that is like Ferguson's claims about his like body weight increases being, as well as the integrity of his fucking bone being negatively influenced potentially by growth hormone use and just like overall PED deployment, essentially, but you know, most specifically GH use, and he seems pretty adamant on it. We get into the history of the stress fractures in his leg going into UFC 264 and exactly what interplay growth hormone may have with that. But one thing to note first, with the Ferguson thing, is this isn't the first time he has talked about PEDs in, you know, big stars in the sport and made pretty bold accusations. So this was back in 2016 against Khabib, who was never tested positive either. Khabib Nurmagomedov, hopefully I got that right in the first try. This moron Ferguson has concerns about my doping test. Hey, idiot, I was tested 11 times, and 11 times anti-doping agency found too much courage in my samples, unlike your cowardly eyes. That you was hiding when we met in person. This idiot, bespectacled Ferguson, doubts my doping test. Hey, idiot, the Anti-Doping Commission checked me 11 times, and all 11 times the Anti-Doping Commission said they found too much courage in me. Unlike your what the fuck? It's like the same thing twice. Maybe he had like hang on, maybe it was like a translation that he put. Oh, it's because it was translated from fucking Russian automatically. So he put it twice for us. What a nice guy. I didn't even need to translate it. He had it in both Russian and English for us already, apparently. So anyways, getting back to the McGregor stress fractures. So, you know, people were speculating about what happened after that fight. You know, obviously it was a pretty dramatic injury and looked pretty fucking scary. And he provided some clarification afterwards after he got like a legitimate diagnosis. So he suffered an ugly injury at the fight, later diagnosed as a broken tibia that ended the main event in the first round when a doctor determined that McGregor could no longer continue after his left leg buckled. Following an exchange of strikes, the former two-division champ underwent surgery. Expected he'll be out of competition for the rest of the year. He took to Instagram on Thursday to provide an update on his condition and claimed that he actually entered the Poirier fight with stress fractures in his leg. He also claims that Dana White and the UFC were aware of this and that the fight almost didn't happen. So here he is talking about it.
And I'm motivated to go and do this, and I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna come back. The leg is better than ever. I was injured going into the fight. People are asking me, when was the leg broke? At what point did the leg break? Ask Dana White, ask the UFC, ask Dr. Davidson, the head doctor of the UFC. They knew I had stress fractures in my leg going into that cage. There was debate about pulling the thing out because I was sparring with no shin pads and I kicked the knee a few times. So I had multiple stress fractures in the shin bone above the ankle. And then I have trouble with the ankle anyway, do you know what I mean, throughout the years of fucking fighting all the time. So... And I also was wrapping my ankle. I was wrapping my ankle every training session. You know, I even done a lot of training sessions where when the ankle was sore, I still wouldn't stop training. I used to just train on my back. And that's how I developed those ground and pound shots from the back. That's why Dustin backed away when he was on top of me. And I was landing the up kicks and the elbows and all. It's a horrible place to be in. When you're against someone like me, you can't land. It takes so much effort to try and land shots from your top position, and while you're trying to do that and you're losing your energy, you're getting lumped over by downward elbows and vicious up kicks. And it was a skill I developed because I had the damaged leg and I had to adjust my training. So, you know, now I'm essentially after getting exactly what I needed to get there. I needed to get treatment on my leg. I needed to get treatment on the ankle, and I needed to get treatment on the shin bone.
Imagine just going for a walk and you see McGregor rolling around on the fucking corner of the street doing like an Instagram live video or something.
And I would have never committed to going under the knife unless something like this has happened. So something like this has happened. I'm after going in, I'm after getting exactly what I needed. And what I needed was a titanium shin bone. So now I've got a titanium rod going down the knee, from the knee to my ankle. And the doctor said it's unbreakable. So once I build back, you know, first of all, manage the incision, the cut, you know, make sure it doesn't get infected, keep the health on it, keep building back that way. Then I'll start playing with the balance, learning how to stand on it again.
Something I wonder that I actually just thought of is like, I wonder what kind of rules surround like fixes of fractures, for example. Like you just mentioned a titanium fucking rod. Like that seems like something that might otherwise be, you know, painful to get hit with. As a fighter in the UFC, can you imagine like knowing your opponent has a titanium rod they're swinging at your fucking head? Obviously, it like actually used as a like infrastructure reinforcing material, but still, nonetheless, like, seems like an interesting, like, subtopic that I just thought of. But anyways.
Learning how to balance on the single leg again. Then I'll build the strength. And then I've got an unbreakable titanium leg. I'm like, I was talking to my physical therapist, Heather, who was with Arnold Schwarzenegger, his other half. And I was saying, I'm like Arnie in Terminator 2. You know what I mean? So I cruise around the Cali streets. Getting a bit of fresh air. And just keeping the head sharp. So I just want to get on, give you a little update. I want to thank you all so much for the messages of support. I appreciate every single one of you.
It's funny. Can't even imagine talking, just being like, referring to everything of mine as like me leg.
My leg.
Me back.
Me back.
Me fucking leg, bro. So anyways, he's gonna have a titanium leg, apparently that's unbreakable in the future. Seems kind of like an interesting subject to dive into. But anyways, as far as the claims of HGH, so obviously Tony Ferguson has made some pretty bold claims in the past that may otherwise be unfounded and highly speculative. You know, obviously, of course, the UFC testing parameters are not impossible to circumvent, especially if you're an individual who does not reside in the United States. So if you're Khabib or you're McGregor himself has come out and talked about not just the shortcomings of the actual science that goes into the drug testing parameters. Quick side tangent from the video to talk about today's sponsor, Seed Synbiotic. This is a pre and probiotic 2-in-1 product that I became aware of a couple of years ago now. I was listening to a podcast, Ben Greenfield's podcast, and he had Raja Dhiran, who is the owner or co-founder of the company, and they basically dissected all of the different shortcomings of probiotics in the industry, what kind of lack of scientific data really went into the creation of much of the early entries into the industry and whatnot, those kind of products that had no scientific literature to support their efficacy and frankly were just like hand-picked random strains out of a hat essentially, you know, some that sounded good, some that looked good on paper, but there are very few companies that are actually going out of their way to dig deep into the literature and find any strains that otherwise are supported by reinforced like actual clinical data whatsoever. And Seed is kind of setting themselves apart in that aspect. And I don't really talk on my channel a lot about it because frankly, it's not my realm of expertise. And to be honest, I don't really think anyone except some of the individuals that dedicate their entire lives to this kind of field of research really understand the gut microbiome thoroughly, and even that, it's still a very untapped area of research that is very promising though for an array of different developments in human biology and performance. And I have talked to Leo many times about gut health and the importance of maintaining the integrity of your microbiome, what you could do to support it. We've talked in passing about frankly, we talk about performance enhancing stuff all the time, health optimization practices, diet manipulation, stuff like that. And more than a few times at this point, we've brought up on the Super Physiological Man podcast about Seed's probiotic. And it was just non-sponsored at the time. So it was cool that they've reached out to me to integrate into the channel since then. And also that they're now offering shipping to Canada, because when I first learned about them, 2 years ago, they weren't at the time. Otherwise, I would have been subscribed to it this entire time. But now they are, fortunately. So I can actually get this stuff. And Leo's been using it himself. He is somebody who has battled with Crohn's in the past, and he mentioned to me, we were kind of going back and forth on my nootropic regimen at the time. This was back in March, and this was the only literal text message I could dig up. I put it in the last integration too. Basically, he said, if you aren't taking Seed probiotic, the only legitimate one I can find at the moment, blah, 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 a bunch of stuff about, other anti-inflammatory agents and cognitive enhancing components. You'll be leaving a lot on the table in terms of inflammation and brain function. So he definitely believed in this product, and I was definitely convinced of its efficacy as well throughout my research, trying to figure out what from this type of product would be the one to go to, because it's kind of overwhelming trying to figure out what you're supposed to do, because it's not as simple as reading a supplement facts panel like on a pre-workout where it's the same ingredients overlapping. You have some of these ridiculously long strain names, and it can be quite an overwhelming process trying to differentiate which ones are useful, which ones have therapeutic efficacy or promise of it, and which ones are just totally, meaningless and are just thrown in for the sake of, you know, having a more comprehensive looking label. So what is this product exactly? Seeds Daily Synbiotic is a pre and probiotic 2-in-1 capsule that supports gut health, skin, overall general health, and many other systemic benefits, which I'll get into shortly. There's 24 clinically and scientifically studied strains, the first of its kind. Not to mention they're sustainably delivered every month. In your first purchase, you'll get a glass jar that is infinitely refillable. Your monthly refills are delivered in compostable, biodegradable, and recyclable packaging. And like, obviously that's just a like cut and paste from their ad read that they want me to say as far as what goes into it, like kind of like a summarization of what it is. But to be honest, like this, again, this is the only one that I had become educated on that had any sort of merit based on like actual scientific literature, it seemed. The rest of them were kind of just, you know, picked out of a hat, like I mentioned, and did not really reinforce my confidence in spending my money long term on them, because ultimately, again, this is quite a speculative industry at the end of the day, and it's nice to see a company actually digging in and trying to pull out info that is actually directly applicable in a practical application context to you and I. So as far as the systemic benefits that I mentioned earlier that go above and beyond just digestive health, most people think pre and probiotic, they think better bowel movements, less GI distress, you know, better, I don't know, not gonna get devastated when you have a cheat meal. Like that's when some people think of pre and probiotics, they have a very big misconception about what they can actually do and what kind of applications they have. And to be honest, it is pretty broad spectrum when you actually look into the interactions with the gut and the rest of the body. So one of those interactions is, of course, gastrointestinal health. And what this aims to do with this symbiotic formulation is support digestive health to maintain regularity, ease bloating, and can alleviate occasional constipation. But above and beyond that, gut barrier integrity helps maintain healthy gut barrier function and integrity. Gut immune function supports healthy gut immune function and crosstalk between immune and intestinal cells. As well as cardiovascular health, promotes heart health, supports healthy intestinal recycling of cholesterol and bile. Dermatological health, supports healthy skin. Micronutrient synthesis, supports folate, vitamin B9 production via intestinal synthesis of bioactive forms of folate. As far as what's in it, it is a 24-strain broad-spectrum probiotic and prebiotic formulated for digestive gut immunity and additional systemic benefits. And it is comprised of 53.6 billion active fluorescent units, and it utilizes a unique 2-in-1 ViaCap delivery technology with a capsule in a capsule, essentially, to protect against stomach acid, digestive enzymes, bile salts, for viability through digestion. Because ultimately, the live probiotics will not make it to the end of the small intestine for delivery into the colon if there is not a mindful approach taken to this delivery system. A lot of probiotics in the industry, frankly, just are destroyed entirely during shipping, and the thought process behind preparing it so it does not need refrigeration, or if it does need refrigeration, is overlooked entirely, as well as the degradation process of the actual practical delivery system that it is encompassed in. So with this capsule in the capsule system, it otherwise protects it against these aforementioned factors as it makes it through your system. The prebiotic outer capsule is made from Indian pomegranate, and the outer capsule serves as a barrier to oxygen, moisture, and heat. At the end of the day, no refrigeration is necessary, which is very, very nice, because otherwise other products in the industry oftentimes completely get destroyed in transit. And the probiotic inner capsule is a proprietary formulation comprised of clinically and scientifically studied strains characterized at academic institutions and research partners in Italy, Spain, Belgium, US, and Japan. It's not of animal or soil origin, and it's biofermented in Europe, and it's sustainably delivered each month. Each component of their refill system as well is designed to protect the daily symbiotic and be gentler on Earth, using a ecologically friendly paper made from algae for the shipping box. Bio-based tray is made of renewable ingredients, starch, natural fibers, and water. Glass is infinitely recyclable. The less they create, the lower the impact. So they're mindful of that during monthly refills, where they send you these little packets for the refills. Your monthly refill comes in a home compostable bio-based pouch that keeps oxygen and moisture out while being planet safe, using an entirely natural insulator made from US grown non-GMO cornstarch. It's biodegradable, backyard compostable, edible, and dissolves in water. If you want to check it out yourself, you can get 15% off your first month's supply of Seeds Daily Symbiotic using code Derek at checkout. Just click the link in the video description below to check it out and get started. So as far as the integrations I bring into the channel, as you guys know by now, I don't really talk about companies that I am not interested in what they're doing, don't reinforce the message and or product / service that they're putting forth. And for me, this is something I use on a daily basis, and I would not be talking about it otherwise if I did not think it was something that was worth spending my own money on that you might otherwise feel the same about. So if you want to support me, support the channel, as well as support a brand that has saw potential in me as well, check it out. Like I said, it is 15% off your first month supply using code Derek at checkout. And let's get back to the regularly scheduled programming. But the fact that they are employing companies that are not USADA to test them. So if you're, Irish and you're in Ireland, they are employing a subdivision of a company in Ireland to go drug test them randomly. It's not like USADA is like literally showing up at his door, like would otherwise be the case should you be residing in the United States potentially. Like there's obviously certain political and kind of like corruption related loopholes that may otherwise be problematic, especially in, countries like Brazil is like highly speculated as one of the most, corrupt areas when it comes to who exactly is doing the testing and what kind of goes on behind the scenes. And, Conor is a, blatant, a long-standing, claims natural his entire career. And he, literally posts on Twitter when he gets tested by these guys. He's like, why? Look who's testing me. You can see exactly, transparently what the shortcoming is of who is testing me. Because if it's an Ireland company that's just being hired to do it, who's to say they couldn't otherwise have been, paid off, tipped off, whatever it is. If they're, individuals who otherwise have, ties to the, government authorities, and the government otherwise wants, fighters to do well to, reinforce the political power / I don't know, just sports have a very, very influential role on how a country is perceived in terms of sway in the world a lot of times. Like you saw this with, the Russian scandals and whatnot, and how far, the government will potentially intervene in order to ensure that their athletes are seen as the highest tier elite individuals in sports. Obviously there's fuckery that can go on behind the scenes, and that's why he was bringing it to our attention to basically talk about what may have been going on with Aldo at the time and other individuals in Brazil. But as far as circling back to the actual growth hormone claims specifically, do I think, Conor is on growth hormone? Do I think that this is what led to his injury? Taking growth hormone will do that to someone's build. You're fragile, frail, and breakable. GH gonna make you break, kid. So is the GH something that would otherwise degrade his leg, make it more likely to endure those stress fractures and ultimately the injury that took him out of commission during the fight? No, it would actually do the opposite. This is something you would take proactively, essentially, to reinforce the structural integrity of your bones or to expedite recovery. This is not something that would do the opposite, as may be implied here. And if anything, this would have been a good strategy to avoid something like that if he was deploying it. So again, this is sort of not, it's not like this is a well-founded argument. It's just highly speculative based on the fact that he looks a bit fluffed up in a fucking tight shirt, when in reality, the guy just has some extra meat on him because he's not moving around. He's not expending more calories, so he has packed on a little bit of fluff, and it's not necessarily all good weight. We've seen Conor bulked up in the past, and this doesn't look a whole lot different. Now, it's not to say that he wouldn't benefit highly from GH. In fact, a lot of individuals at a high level sport are using GH because it's hard to fucking test for at the end of the day. Using a HGH isoform differential immunoassay to try and detect this shit, the actual detection time, very, very low, and actually trying to detect these aberrations in these kilodalton ratios. This is a test that ultimately has flaws. It's not perfect. It has a very low detection time. And ultimately, it can only really detect if you're using synthetic GH, recombinant GH created for, commercial purposes in a lab, like the traditional, like a Serostim or a Norditropin or something of this nature. If you have a designer product or you have something that is otherwise truly bioidentical, it's gonna be undetectable. And then that's above and beyond the very short detection time to begin with and the relative lack of proportional testing that is done using this analytical technique. A lot of leagues, even at the highest level of sport in many, many very well-funded leagues, are just not testing for this shit to begin with. And when they are, the leeway to get around it is very, very high, and it's very difficult to detect. There's a reason why very few individuals ever pop for GH. Do you really think that there's nobody in high-level sport using like one of the most useful exogenous performance-enhancing drugs for reinforcing the structural integrity of them, when ultimately one of the major limiting factors for a professional athlete's longevity is avoiding injury? So when you actually look at the clinical data, we can see very, very clear positive trends increasing in osteocalcin and in bone resorption markers. Patients who received GH had a significant decrease in fracture risk as compared to control. This is, obviously a highly sought after performance enhancing advantage above and beyond the satellite cell proliferation, myonuclear donation you could otherwise get, and getting a increase in myocyte maturation, increased permanent muscle mass from a actual proliferative aspect at the muscle building level. The bone, the actual reinforcing the structural integrity of your entire being, is something that is going to be even more sought after probably by a lot of these individuals. It's not just about getting a bit more hyperinflated with some volume, getting more water retention, leverage in the fucking gym. It's majorly about these regulatory mechanisms on bone mass. So here, growth hormone is a peptide hormone secreted by the pituitary under the control of the hypothalamus, has many actions in the body, including regulating a number of metabolic pathways. Some, but not all of its effects are mediated through IGF-1, as well as other downstream growth factors. Both of them play significant roles in the regulation of growth and bone metabolism, and hence are regulators of bone mass. Bone mass increased steadily throughout childhood, peaking in the mid-20s. Subsequently, there is a slow decline that accelerates in late life. During childhood, the accumulation in bone mass is a combination of bone growth and bone remodeling. Bone remodeling is the process of new bone formation by osteoblasts and bone resorption by osteoclasts. GH directly and through IGF-1 stimulates osteoblast proliferation and activity, promoting bone formation. It also stimulates osteoclast differentiation and activity, promoting bone resorption. The result is an increase in the overall rate of bone remodeling with a net effect of bone accumulation. All sounds pretty fucking advantageous for a UFC fighter smashing their goddamn shins against opponents on a daily basis, or however frequently they're doing it. I mainly mean like in every fight, like they're fucking exposing their skeletal infrastructure to very, very problematic incidences for potential major injury, like career-ending shit. The absence of GH results in a reduced rate of bone remodeling and a gradual loss of bone mineral density. Bone growth primarily occurs at the epiphyseal growth plates and is the result of the proliferation and differentiation of chondrocytes. GH has direct effect on these chondrocytes, but primarily regulates the function through IGF-1, which stimulates the proliferation of and matrix production by these cells. GH deficiency severely limits bone growth and hence the accumulation of bone mass. GH deficiency is not an uncommon complication in oncology, has long-term effects on bone health. So again, ultimately, this is something that is going to be highly advantageous from a proactive injury prevention aspect, as well as recovery, expediting recovery aspect. This is not something that's significantly performance enhancing necessarily. This is something that's more so a insurance policy for fighters, as well as other high level athletes, NBA players especially. This is notable. And is being highly abused. It's something that is not easy to test for, and one of the most obvious biomarkers to actually indicate GH use that has a much longer detection time is not even seen as a reliable or deployed biomarker for assessing GH use for some reason. The IGF-1 biomarker analysis is something that would be an obvious addition in every single person's blood panel that should otherwise be mandatory if you were indeed trying to test for this shit on a regular basis. But again, blood is being analyzed for longitudinal data of hematology aberrations to detect blood doping as opposed and EPO usage, and that's pretty much fucking it. Even though very obvious things to add, gonadotropin analysis, IGF-1 levels, like these kind of things would be obvious red flags for long-standing use, because again, your IGF-1 is going to remain elevated for weeks after you use this shit. So again, it's just shortcomings of testing, potentially lack of budget to even deploy it, or just they don't fucking care that much sometimes. Now, I would assume a lot of this stuff does have to undergo scrutiny at a high level to be, seen as a mandatory thing to be adding in and adding to the budget allocation, because again, drug testing only has a certain budget that can be deployed to actually, look for as many things as you can afford to do. And if it falls short of the mark of what they see to be the most problematic things, like maybe it's more, something of higher scrutiny and like higher concern, anabolic steroids perhaps. So there's more budget allocated to, GCMS testing of urine. That would make logical sense. So some of this stuff ultimately is going to go overlooked because they simply do not have the budget to allocate to everything to do a real bulletproof test, the amount of times and the randomized frequency of times they're really doing it. So again, that's why people will only test for EPO upon a red flag. There's a reason why they have a biological passport to begin with, and subsequent highly sensitive EPO testing after the fact should you trigger a red flag in your hematology. It's not just like proactively deployed off the bat. These are things that are otherwise done after the fact based upon preliminary screening criteria. So it's not surprising that individuals get away with GH use all the time, and it's very, very prominent at a high level. And is Conor using it? Like, it would definitely be fucking helpful. I wouldn't be surprised if he's using things like peptides, GH potentially. But do I think he's like a heavy duty doper or like a heavy duty like PED guy? Not really, I don't think he's one of like the main, I don't think he's a big like juice fiend, a fucking sauce head and a half. I think he is somebody who would otherwise benefit from the deployment of things like some peptides you can even get away with that are totally fine, BPC 157, not even targeted. Like some of the shit is no brainer and he's definitely adding it in. And I think I even did a video on what he probably would be using and would be useful after his injury. I forget what it was called. I put up a card in the corner, Conor McGregor like recovery protocol or Conor McGregor like brutal injury, whatever it was. You can check that out for a more detailed insight into some of the compounds specifically. But ultimately, is like his size, heavily influenced by growth hormone? Did it degrade its fucking leg and cause, cause stress fractures going to the fight and lead to the complete dismantlement of his leg in the fight? No, this would be something that would be proactively deployed to injury-proof yourself and otherwise stretch your career out. And I think we actually see that played out in practical application with a lot of top guys, somehow ending up later into what would otherwise be seen as a impossible age to extend your career to, given, historically what athletes were retiring at, a couple decades ago. Individuals are stretching their careers into their fucking 40s and still performing at a very high level without injuries or as prevalent amount of injuries and recovering in a much more expedited fashion, despite the fact that their endogenous hormone profile may otherwise not support this. I don't think it's a fucking coincidence, dude, So anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. All the comments help the algorithm and are much appreciated. Like, subscribe, check out my blog, moreplatemordates.com. Follow me on Instagram at moreplatemordates, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts. If you want to support the channel, you can check out anything I'm associated with in the video description below. My TRT clinic, all telemedicine from the comfort of your own home. I call it a TRT clinic just to be quick, but in reality, it is a broad spectrum preventative medicine practice with doctors who represent the same quality of information I try to put out on my channel and stay up to date in the most recent literature in all aspects from diet, nutrition, lifestyle manipulation, sleep hygiene, etc. It's not just about deploying pharmacology and getting you on TRT. Rather, it's about assessing elaborate diagnostics and actually choosing what biomarkers to get in the first place and making an individualized protocol just for you based on your own individual needs. And this may or may not involve actual pharmacology. It may involve simple lifestyle tweaks and manipulations that would otherwise, potentially yield a significant outcome that may otherwise avert the need whatsoever to even go on TRT or something of that nature. We do it all. We're broad spectrum, we're turnkey, and I highly recommend you check it out if you don't have a high quality doctor. The importance of having that in your camp, I cannot overstate it enough. It is something I wish I had access to when I was younger, because I had many painful experiences going to doctors, begging for fucking basic blood work and not being able to get it, trying to be proactive about my health and take a preventative approach to it rather than a reactive approach, which is how ideally I think this shit should function. So this is why I'm so passionate about bringing this kind of a service to the industry. And I highly recommend you check it out if you do not have a doctor in your camp looking out for your best interests, who is non-judgmental, by the way. As well, Gorilla Mind, nootropic formulas, Gorilla Mode pre-workout formulas. I designed myself from scratch. My recommended diet model for gaining muscle and sports performance, whilst being mindful of micronutrient intake, gut health, electrolyte intake, thyroid health, just a bunch of shit that goes overlooked by most cookie cutter influencer diets sold on Instagram by guys who just take fucking gear and then sell you a if it fits your macros, hit your protein goals kind of diet, which is just, silly at the end of the day. So check that out if it interests you, as well as the clothing company that sponsors me, literally the shirt I'm wearing in this video, as well as anything else I'm associated with. It is all in the video description below. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.